Joining us for more on Ukraine is retired Brigadier General Mark Kimmitt, a former Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs. Thanks so much for joining us.
Sure.
So there are reports that Ukraine agreed to the core elements of the peace deal. What more is known?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to understand that we've gone from the 28-point peace plan that was agreed to in principle by the Russians. Now we've run it by the Ukrainians, and they've refined it down to 18 points. This isn't over. Even though President Zelenskyy will come to Washington, D.C. next week, it is without a doubt that that version that he has agreed to will now have to be brought back to the Russians to look at. This reminds me, I'm old enough to remember the shuttle diplomacy of Henry Kissinger in 1974, as he went back and forth between Egypt and Israel in a series of shuttle diplomacy trips for the purposes of finally achieving a peace between Israel and Egypt.
Now, talking about that shuttle diplomacy, when we look back over this deal, what have been the fundamental starting positions and non-negotiable demands of both Russia and Ukraine, and where have they differed?
Yeah, it's very simple. They're both completely different. Ukraine said the Russians out, Ukraine into NATO, and reparations being paid to Ukraine for the damage and the destruction caused by Russia. The Russians, on the other hand, their war aims were simple. Zelenskyy out, Ukraine never to get into NATO, and we hold on to the lands that we have. But as you can see, those two sides are so far apart. That's why you need a third party, in this case the Americans, to try to bring them closer together.
And what do you think of that potentially being accomplished?
I'm pessimistic because the two sides are so far apart. But, you know, peace is typically achieved through negotiations. Neither side, neither Putin nor Zelenskyy, will get what they want. But hopefully, despite all the hand-wringing of our European allies, we can come to an agreement that is considered fair and non-threatening to the Europeans, and that stops the killing inside of Ukraine.
And if a peace plan stalls, what would that look like for Russia and Ukraine?
Well, I would describe it as a frozen conflict, which I expect it's going to end up anyways. We've seen frozen conflicts before. There's one in India and Pakistan in an area called Kashmir. Azerbaijan and Armenia had a frozen conflict for years and years. And the one that most Americans recognize is that frozen conflict between North and South Korea. Technically, South Korea and North Korea are still in a state of war. But for many, many years, 70 plus years, they have had this frozen conflict without resolution to the war aims of either side.
Retired Brigadier General Mark Kimmitt, thank you so much.
Thank you.